Like and subscribe right now, or else this will be in your bed tonight. r/AskReddit by Planet Reddit. People who grew up poor but now live comfortably. What is something you now cherish that normal people wouldn't think twice about? Being comfortably broke. As in, all my bills are paid and my accounts are lower than I'd like but still in the positive. There is such a difference between being broke and content. And being broke and worrying about your next meal or bill being paid. This is just under me. I call it being just right. My tax preparer calls it welcome to middle class. It's so sad that it's normal for the middle class to have relatively little in savings bank account. I guess that's just the world we live in now. Yes. I never knew how to explain it. I don't have loads of savings. But I can cover all my bills, and if I really want something I am able to save for a couple of weeks. I call it being poor adjacent. We don't have as much money as I'd like in our savings account. But we're not so broke we're struggling. Being able to set the thermostat however high I want. Stepping out of the shower into warmth instead of a freezing cold bathroom. Not having to wear layers to bed. Under multiple layers of blankets too. Because the heat was always turned down at night and the wood stove had died down. This. Everyone thinks having a wood stove is super cool. But what happens when it is your only source of heat? When you're poor or going through a rough spot, burning 4x4s for heat. Or worse, don't have the $sign for wood. Thank goodness we got wood the other day. I was rotating wet 2x4s in front of the wood stove one night, panicking about being cold. All the while you just go to work and pretend all is well. When really it is warmer at work. All in all, though, I am pretty lucky. This is a short-term bad spot and winter is almost over. We moved to a farmhouse with only a wood stove. But we just put in roof and underfloor insulation and a heat transfer system with a solar-powered roof heat reclamation system. We are very aware that we're well off enough to make even these relatively minor additions to the comfort of our home. Unlike the former owners. My parents picked the house I grew up in after a rough patch that led to my mom and baby me being without heat for a few days in the middle of winter while my father was away for work. It was bad because my paternal grandmother didn't like my mum. And she was the only family we had in the city. The wood stove kept my childhood home warm and kept the bills down until my parents got better jobs. There were many a winter's night power outage spent around that stove. Having a well-stocked home. Never running out to toilet paper/paper towel, soap, shampoo, conditioner/food. TPS probably top 3. Ladies use a lot of toilet paper, and when you're poor sometimes you don't know the next time you can buy some. I just commented the same before I saw this. Yes, TP. Running out of TP is the worst, especially if you're a teenage girl having her period. Whenever I was in a public restroom, I'd take a bit of TP, not steal the actual whole roll, cause I was always prepping for those days when there'd be none in my house. I used to hide my emergency supply from my parents. It's good toilet paper I get stoked about. No more cheap one-ply. I tend to hoard all of this stuff out of an irrational fear of running out. In my early 20s. Sometimes I didn't have enough money for shampoo and go a while without washing my hair. Or I'd have to figure out how to wash dishes without any dish soap. I'd wash my clothes in the bathtub and hang them around my apartment to dry since I didn't have enough change for the laundromat. I'd go to a nearby fast food place and instead of eating there, no money, I'd go to the bathroom and take a bunch of toilet paper, roll it up and try to sneak out with it. So I'd have some at home. I was also homeless at one point and went weeks without a shower due to not being able to have access to one. So now it's like over a decade later from all of that. I'm happily married and we are homeowners. We both make a decent amount of money. I have like 25 shampoo bottles stocked up. 20 body washes. 30 dish soaps. Several cases of toilet paper. For a family of 3. I do extreme couponing even though I could just pay full price. I just live life like one day I'll be poor again or homeless and will need shampoo or toilet paper. So I feel like I have to stock up. I grew up without hot water. Infestations of rats and roaches. A mother who hoarded animals and no central heating and account. Now that I own a home with my husband, the thing I'm most grateful for is having a warm home in the winter. Every year when we need to turn in the heat on, it just hits me how grateful I am to have my kids grow up in a warm house. It stops me in my tracks and I have to call my husband and tell him how blessed we are and how lucky we are to not only have each other and our babies, but to have a comfortable home for them to grow up in. Candy dishes, fruit bowls, display food. I have a stocked pantry and always keep a fruit bowl on the counter. Growing up poor in interior Alaska, fresh fruit is expensive as duck. I remember getting a fresh pineapple as a kid and everybody clamoring for pieces. I visited an aunt for a few weeks in the lower 48 as a kid when my mom was in rehab, and she always had multiple jars of candy snacks around. I was floored. I couldn't wrap my head around the concept. To this day, whenever I put out candy or nut dishes, I get all warm and fuzzy. This time of year a decent sized container of strawberries is really going for like $8 at Fred Meyer's. It's nuts, man. Growing up in the interior. Fresh fruit. The kids don't really get it, but in my house we always have fresh fruit. I have gone out to walk half a mile in -20 to go buy more when we ran out before. I just remember it not being an option for so long. All we had was beans and rice because they were cheap. My kids always have access to fruit. This really resonates with me. Not that we were poor, but I grew up before the age of superhighways and modern interstate trade. Apart from a few fruits that travel well, oranges and bananas, the only fruits were locally grown and in season only. When I moved to California and had a house of my own, I planted fruit trees. More than 25 of them in the backyard at last count. Plus the mango and cherimoya seedlings in the windowsill ready to plant when spring arrives. Do you have any advice for people who want to try growing fruit trees for the first time? At my home in southern Ontario we had some apple trees, but I was warned against eating the apples. They would always grow small and mushy. Was it just a harsh environment? Is there more care we could have done? My grandfather always pruned in late winter. He swore that you'd get fewer but better fruit from a pruned tree. He also buried fish guts at the base of the struggling trees. I'd imagine this could be replaced with just store-bought fertilizer. Pruning will provide you with a stronger tree, thus better fruit. Thinning will provide you with bigger, sweeter fruit. Our general rule is a hand space around each fruit. By reducing the amount of fruit on the tree, more energy is spent on each fruit, allowing it to grow bigger and better. Source: grew up on an orchard. New clothes just for me. I was one of the younger kids in a large, relatively poor family. For years everything I wore was a hand-me-down. Then it was buying super discounted remnants and seconds. This is the same as me. When I was a kid I predominantly had hand-me-downs. Not from older family members but from family, friends and even complete strangers. The worst moment of this came when someone I knew spotted that I was wearing an older kid's coat who they also knew. I took so much crap for that. I became known as one of the poor kids and was seen as a tramp. I always buy nice and new clothes now. I'm not someone who wears brand name stuff, that is Nike, Adidas, etc. But all of my clothes are high quality. Same for me. I don't care about labels, but it has to be good quality. Nice material and something that fits my body and style. Gosh. That weird icky feeling having to wear a coat that you don't even like and once belonged to your dad's 45-year-old boss lady. It was so ugly and looked weird on a 13-year-old. The concept of actually having food. I had crying for dinner a lot of the time because we just couldn't afford it. One Thanksgiving, someone dropped off a huge box of food on our doorstep in the night, so we woke up to a turkey with an ice pack and every side and dressing imaginable, and I remember just sobbing uncontrollably that I finally had something to be thankful for. I went hungry often when I was a kid. A mix of neglect and poverty. So when I was old enough to get a job, I spent it on food. I could only get cheap stuff and would have to hide it in my room. Mostly Pop-Tarts, granola bars, and tuna helper, no milk or butter when cooking. I tried bananas once but it attracted bugs. Once I moved out and started college I developed problems with overeating. I was terrified of going hungry. Eventually I would feel very ill if I went only a few hours without food. I was constantly snacking or drinking sugary stuff to keep calories in me. I was gaining weight fast. In my 30s now with a well enough paying job that I don't have to work several jobs at once. I can afford both better quality food and the time needed to prepare it. If something goes bad, it's not the end of the world to throw it out. I can go to the store once a week or more if needed. I'm starting to eat better. When I'm running low on sleep from working 2 or more jobs, I would crave fatty, sugary food. But now I don't feel as stressed as before. It's getting easier to resist heavy calorie meals. The fear of going hungry is lessening. I started practicing intermediate fasting. It took a year of failures to finally get where I can abstain from eating for a few hours. I'm losing weight and feel better. The better I feel, the easier it is to stick to my diet. Having a healthy relationship with food is a big deal and something I truly appreciate every day. If I was still working 2 jobs, I wouldn't be able to do it. It's a ducking travesty that people are going to bed hungry in 2020. Hey Ellen and Jeff, if you're reading this, how about putting some of your logistics and cash behind a food for all program? God knows we need it more than space rockets and sexy cars. Ellen's brother owns Telsa stocks and uses that to fund programs to feed the poor and to fund agricultural innovations. Begging dragons to share their hoard with you won't do a damn thing. Hot water. Yes. I didn't have a hot shower at home until about 18. Bucket showers with boiled water mixed with the lukewarm shower water in the winter was as good as it got growing up. My favorite part of sleepovers with my cousins was that I was able to take a shower with hot water. They had no idea I used to cry in the shower over how good it felt and knowing I had to go back to cold showers. I came here to say this. Clean hot water. Big one. My son can go upstairs. Or downstairs. It's a townhouse. Sure. But when I was a kid, living in a trailer, I thought that having an upstairs was what rich people had. Now that we have an upstairs and a finished basement, he doesn't know how lucky he is. Same. Grew up in a trailer and buying a house with stairs felt like a status symbol lol. My husband wants to build a ranch style house and I'm like no way. Don't take away my stairs lol. This. I also grew up in a trailer. We have stairs that go up and down, 3 levels. Also the nicest house in the family, and it's really not that special. If we weren't in a trailer we were with grandparents. My kids have it good. We have a piano for the same reason. Growing up, I thought only rich people had an actual piano. I literally never saw a real one aside from church. So when my husband and I got married, I told him we needed a piano in the house for the kids. It's not even an expensive model and none of the kids are old enough to really play it, but I don't care. I have a piano. Food? I can buy food anytime and virtually anywhere I want. I buy high quality foods, etc. I'm an older dude and to this day I have anxiety thinking what if I can't buy my next meal? It is just part of my DNA. So all of my charity and volunteering is focused on helping organizations that help people get food. In this day and age, no one should worry about where their next meal is coming from. When my family was in a really rough position, my aunt would drop off grocery bags full of food on our front porch. She always told my mom that she'd accidentally bought too much of these things to make my parents feel better. I'll never forget it. Every time someone I know needs help, food is the first thing I think of. I can't always help financially, but I can make sure they're fed. That was really awesome of your aunt. And that's good that her values rubbed off on you. Good on you. I do think this is repeated many times over with people. That's why when people talk about losing faith in humanity I just cringe. I can go to virtually any neighborhood and find someone giving the last of their food to someone else. The places I volunteer have long waiting lists of people wanting to help. Just wish the need wasn't there. Just wish the need wasn't there. It's ridiculous that food security is still an issue. Join our community Discord, link in description. Paying bills. There's nothing like the stress of figuring out how the electric bill, phone bill and rent are all going to get paid. Now it's automatically deducted from my bank account and I don't think about it. This is what I dream about. You give me hope. I've gotten to the point I don't always notice my bank account increasing. I have to consciously go through my bills. Versus even just a decade ago. I knew exactly what was going to be coming in and going out day to day. And if a paycheck was late, you better believe I knew. At least until you notice that you're paying too much for one thing 5 months ago. Never running out of toilet paper. Seriously. It's like, oh, this roll is out, I'll just grab another. Not even having to ration it. Like I can use 29 squares for one wipe if I want. Eating cheap, crappy, weird food meals for nostalgic reasons, not because I have to. I was so damn happy when I could finally splurge on a pot for my apartment. I brought it home and made 3 packs of creamy chicken ramen. A good quality bath towel. I grew up in a house where the best we could afford was cheap beach towels. The thin ones that feel kind of scratchy. Let me tell you, having a real, full-sized, soft to the touch bath towel is heaven. You like those? It's odd. I have a specific aversion to those. It's like they repel water rather than soak it up. The old, worn out towels I had as a kid were a million times better at being a towel than a brand new, overpriced, fluffy, soft, Macy's towels that I am so disappointed in. I recently discovered zero twist cotton bath towels. No water repelling. Super absorbent and they dry super fast. I grew up with 20-year-old thin towels. These towels are a little luxury I can afford now. Edit. Words are hard late at night. Don't use fabric softener with your towels. That's where the water repellent feeling comes from. And they're so thick that you could almost cuddle them or use them as a blanket. It feels great on every part of your skin. I cherish the little things. Crayons, envelopes and stamps, clean clothes, and other things that now seem normal. But I never had. It's funny. I've said that sometimes nothing feels better than a nice Sunday evening when all my clothes are clean and put away. I've had a shower. The car is gassed up and washed. And I have a full book of stamps. Total satisfaction. Crayola crayons. I hated having the crappy rosewood crayons. Not the same at all. Being able to just buy stuff. Bills are caught up and savings put away. And oh, I like this. I can buy this and now worry. When I want candy, buy a small thing, or eat out, I just can. There is no need to verify that this $10 purchase will put me in the negative. This is actually the first thing I remember from making it. Checking the numbers on my account and realizing that I probably, reasonably, predictably didn't have to bother with decimals ever again. My bed. OMG, my beautiful soft cuddly bed with its pillows and its duvet and all the comfort and warmth. Sigh. I didn't have a terrible childhood. Just one rough patch where we had nothing. Getting a bed for Christmas after a few years again changed me. Oh my goodness. I love my bed. My stepdad growing up was an addict. I came home from school one day and my bed was just gone. Mattress and all. He sold the mattress and scrapped my wrought iron daybed for drug money. I spent a few weeks sleeping on the floor until we could afford a replacement. My parents did the same thing. Except they weren't addicts, just a-holes. Come home at 7:30 AM from working a night shift and go to my room. Where's my bed? Oh, we sold it and bought you a couch. So I slept on a corduroy couch until I moved out for uni. Woke up for months with crazy lines all over my body and face. I hit a rough patch a couple years ago. Ended up renting a single room of a house. It took me a couple months to get a bed. When I was sleeping on the floor I felt like such a failure. Now I have turned my life around and have an awesome bed. I have over $10K in the bank. After living paycheck to paycheck for all of my adult life. It's a really weird and amazing feeling to actually have a financial cushion. Small though it may be. I might even be able to go to a big event next year that I've been daydreaming about for most of my life. Having $10K in the bank is a huge accomplishment. Don't discount your success. Not having to worry about finding someplace dry to fall asleep. The anxiety of not knowing where you'll be laying your head down that night controls your entire life in a way I can't possibly articulate. It's easy to think you can imagine or comprehend that feeling of insecurity, but I feel like if people truly have been there not even meeting Maslow's minimum there wouldn't be as many homeless. Dumpster diving downtown for lunch and dinner. Cherishing the fact that I can go to the store, spend almost nothing on some brown rice, and being completely satisfied with that. Normal people definitely don't get that. But most of all, what I cherish that normal people don't is my drive and self-sufficiency. If you've been rock bottom and you have no blanket, then you will do whatever it takes not to be there again. People will do anything to pay the rent. I grew up in a very poor family. My parents were good parents. They would sacrifice having anything to provide for my brother and I. We had to borrow groceries at times, and didn't always know if the bills would be paid. They worked very hard. It wasn't an issue of motivation. It was more like the industry in our town failed, so the jobs just were not there. I feel like living through this made us closer as a family. Suffering through hard times brought us closer together. The one thing I cherish the most and hold dearly to my family now is the togetherness. And I buy the most expensive gaming gear available. Borrowing groceries. Now if I don't have an ingredient, it's because I didn't realize I was out of an ingredient. I call my sister to ask her if she has it just because I can't run to the store at the moment. Not because I can't afford it and just couldn't make the ingredients for the last meal even remotely possible to make. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for 3 videos a day.